What's going on today, guys? I am Damian Stevens, and I am the host of Damian Stevens Live. Super excited today to have Dan Destino with us. Before I bring him in, I did want to say drop your comments in below. We are taking questions, any comments you have. This is a live show. If you're listening on the record, drop in other comments. We'd love to hear from you. And if you hear anything that you like or think you might hit like or hit one of the reactions. We'd love to see that. So please do that. So Dan Destino is the CEO of Nova Computer, and he is a top 501 MSP in the world. And he's made CRN's top 250 Pioneer MSP. So let me bring Dan in. Dan, thank you so much for being here today.
Damien, it's a pleasure. I've been excited about this since we talked about it a few weeks ago. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm excited to have you. So Dan, we were talking kind of backstage before this. You have a really interesting story of how you got started and why you got started. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, why did you start and how did you get started? It seems different than, I would say, the typical MSP.
Well, I appreciate that. I get started back in a previous life. I was in the Air Force, and I was selected for a special duty assignment up here at Bowling Air Force Base. And I was stationed there, but I worked for the Defense Intelligence Agency. And I was on a handful of other techs that managed the servers for DIA, their component in the Pentagon, and some other remote and isolated locations around the area. And I loved it. It was fantastic. And my wife at the time, she was working for a dentist in Fairfax, and he was having some IT challenges. And I went in and I helped him out and fixed a few things. Uh, really thought it was kind of neat. He had a brand new digital X-ray system with this computer, and it made these really amazing digital X-rays, and it really kind of fascinated me. And after helping him out, he said, "Oh, you should call on a friend of his, Dr. Ryan." And I called on Dr. Ryan, and I helped Dr. Ryan out. And right around the same time, the government came to me and said, "Okay, your enlistment is coming up. You are number one on the D Rose, which is this list that you haven't been overseas. You're kind of up to go overseas." And they wanted to send me to a remote and isolated location, unaccompanied. And my wife and I were trying to start a family at the time. I realized that being a 40-hour plane flight away was not all that conducive to that family that we were trying to start. And
Right.
I I told the government I will do anything. I'll re-enlist today. An extended long tour to Italy, Germany, England, anything. I just don't want to go on an unaccompanied tour right now.
Right.
And also at the time, they really needed my career field. They needed IT folks, and especially the skill set that I had because of all the training they had sent me to. And they said, "No, you're gonna go." And so I thought about it, and I did a bit of a market analysis of dental specific technology companies, and found that there were a couple that were up in business at the time, and most of those have gone to the wayside since. Uh, and slowly over time, I let my enlistment run out, and I left the military. And that first month, man, it was scary. The month prior, I had guaranteed paycheck, 30 days of PTO, health care. And that very first month, working out of one room in the house, I billed out a whole $456. And I had spent $250 on a hard drive or something that I'd replaced in one of the two clients that I had at the time. And man, I got scared. What did I do? Baby on the way. What's happening? And uh, you know, never really looked back. It ended up, just kind of growing from, one room and an office in our house to taking over the basement to now our headquarters are in Woodbridge. And we have dental clients from Maine to Florida, and growing more and more west as we speak. And so
That's
just
awesome.
been very very lucky to to be in this in this vertical and kind of have it happen as hard as it did. So you could appreciate it when it's easier, but it happened the way it did, nevertheless.
That's awesome, Dan. Hey, I'm getting a couple comments that the it's hard to hear Dan. I bumped up the volume, guys, so let me know if that's helped. If you're still not able to hear them, let me know. I definitely bumped up the volume. I'm hearing you more clearly. So
I will talk a little louder as well.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm able to hear you. If you guys still having those troubles, let me know. Thanks for letting me know, Julius. Thanks for letting us know, Jay. I really appreciate that. I also wanted to highlight this comment from Morgan because I agree. Anybody that is willing to serve us in our country, I thank you for that. So that's awesome and amazing. And
It's everybody, if you can, everybody should do it. It gets you out of your hometown. It gets you away from all the people you grew up with. You learn things. You get disciplined. It's very, very important.
right, right. So you were in you were in the Air Force, and it was a family change that made you decide you didn't want to do this. And then, from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, you somehow ended up working for the DoD before leaving.
That's what the DIA it belongs to. The Defense Intelligence Agency is a direct reporting unit to the Department of Defense. So even though I was in the Air Force and uh, we worked directly for the Defense Intelligence Agency, and they were a direct reporting unit, so they had a lot of money, and they sent everybody to schools. So going there and working there, there pretty much wasn't a class, and if we all remember what tech schools or schools in the 90s were, you're going to get your MCSE and you're going to this class and that MT class and all those things. And
Yeah,
so they just uh, they just were able to allow me to do that so that I can grow my skill set. And I would have loved to have stayed in the Air Force and finished my career. But what I've always said is the Air Force or the government isn't run like a company. And
that's
when
right.
you have an asset that they needed, needed my skill set, and I was willing to do it, they didn't want to, and that's kind of one of the biggest differences. Is as a company, we would look at that asset and say, "Oh my gosh, I can't leave this or let this go."
That's right. That's right. Elijah says awesome. So we have a ton of comments coming in. We'll make sure to get to as many as possible. Dan, tell me a little bit about, in my view, you're the technical guy. We talked to backstage about being introverts. Tell me about, though it didn't seem like you took the typical path when you started this of I'm just going to be a tech guy. I'm going to open up a shop and I'm going to serve everybody that I possibly could. So tell me why you started this differently than I feel like most MSPs start.
You know, being specific or really focused on a vertical was something that uh, honestly my dad was a jeweler, and he became a master jeweler, and he focused on making jewelry, and he became a gemologist, and he was very very specific at what he did. He was very very good at what he did, and so in the conversations with him on what should I do, and I can start an IT company, and we really focused pretty quickly in on the oral healthcare vertical for a number of reasons. Uh, the first reason was it, in some ways, and we talk about this in our culture, our team talks about this all the time, is that we're a small cog in a big wheel helping dentists with the tools or the resources that they need in order to help in from the biggest part, change people's lives and being able to give them their smile or repair their oral health care, and not even just from the cosmetic or the aesthetic standpoint, but just from the overall how your overall oral health care affects your body. And we have an opportunity at Nova to help doctors and hygienists change people's lives. And as kind of strange as that sounds, it might, it's almost like 7 degrees of, Kevin Bacon or whatever it may be. We're a part of that process. And I believe that without us being able to provide those services to those practitioners, they wouldn't be able to help, Mrs. Smith get her dentures in and make her have her smile back and give her the confidence to go back to church, or whatever scenario you want it to be. And so that was one thing that I really liked about going down the oral healthcare route. We could have focused on attorneys, and that would have been great, and we would have helped a lot of attorneys, and maybe get some folks to you know money because they got in a car accident or whatever the case may be. But to me, it wasn't as powerful or as impactful as what we can do on a daily basis to have our clients help change people's lives. So that was one of the big things there. And then realizing that once you can really not only focus on the IT, but on the infrastructure. And when you're talking about an operatory, where's the technology in an ergonomic way for the patient to educate and motivate the patient, or to have the doctor, because dentists have so many neck and back issues, where can we place the monitor, the keyboard and mouse, so that that's not impacting or negatively impacting their posture and how they're sitting in the room. To we manage anything and everything in a dental practice. So from if you were building a practice and you just had a plan and you needed that plan come to real life, we've kind of expanded beyond that IT, and being focused in one specific vertical really allowed us to capture all the areas of technology in that vertical to be able to help our partners.
Interesting. I would have never known the posture and neck issues would be a big deal there. I want to highlight a couple comments. Hugh, thanks for letting us know that you're able to hear. I really appreciate that. And I wanted to highlight one from Fred. So Fred says, "Hello, Dan. Just converted a 22-year-old IT outsourcing company to an MSP." So that sounds like quite the challenge there, Fred. A lot of cultural change and norms there, I would imagine. So love to see the comments coming through. Um, keep them keep them coming through. Um, I have one from Elijah, and Elijah saying, "What's the driver to get more customers flowing your way?"
It's a great question. What we've, well, currently, right now is, if you're from a marketing standpoint, video. Video, video, video. That is probably the biggest thing that we're working on internally, is to do more video, and not just, hey, there was a Samsung breach last Friday, and if you've ever registered a product at Samsung, start to check your keep an eye on your credit, but more education. And education has been probably the biggest driver in bringing in new customers, and having new customers join our team, is because of the way we educate and talk about how whatever the solution may be, whether it's a solution to be able to educate or motivate the patient more, or to be able to, an intraoral camera to be able to educate the patient on really what's happening in their mouth, whatever it may be. Education over the last 4 or 5 years has been probably the biggest driver, and we're utilizing our education through our marketing. We're doing a lot more video, and also client testimonials and spotlights on, this client was having these challenges, and we were able to, by making these tweaks, or implementing this solution, we've been able to resolve that issue and then increase the productivity, or whatever it may be, for that client. And so really educating and trying to provide the value add. We're all MSPs. We're all doing the MSP thing. But
Right.
where else can we come to our clients and say, this is a solution? It's not even a solution that you necessarily provide, but one that we have right now that we love is, there's a solution out that a patient can schedule an appointment in your practice management software directly through Yelp, without ever calling the office. And that's, again, being able to educate our clients that they have these solutions out there, that if we can put more patients in their chairs, they can grow their business, they can help more people.
Right. Right. So, guys, continue to drop the comments in. We got some great ones coming in. I had a good question for you, but I'm going to give Hugh preference here. So, you says, hi Dan, thanks for that insight. How do you disseminate your videos? Because I know you're saying video, but you know,
Mhm.
in we've talked backstage. Is it you? Do you have a part-time person? Like, you got somebody else? You got some secrets up your trip? Like, how do you make this work? Great question, Hugh.
We we so for a portion of time, I was running Nova mainly as a lifestyle business where I wasn't necessarily focused on growing the company. I was focused on some family challenges and some health challenges that I was going through, and you know, once I kind of ran through all those and was coming out on the other end, I really made a concerted effort to grow Nova and change it from a lifestyle business and make it something that I really wanted to, but I had to get through life. Life happens sometimes for all of us. And so in the end of 2017, we really were looking at marketing companies. And because we're specific and in a specific vertical, I wanted a specific marketing company that really only works with MSPs. Just, like I would want specific IT company because I'm a dentist and I only work because I'm a dentist. So after kissing a couple of frogs, we landed on an amazing marketing company out of Florida, and they only work with MSPs. And after talking with them with my limited neophyte marketing vision that I had, and then coming in and saying, this is what we can do and how we can really expand your footprint and show everybody what Nova's doing. So since January 1st of 2018, we're working with a company called Eulistic, and they've been just amazing. And they do all of our videos. So they're putting video out on all of the major platforms. We have a YouTube channel, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and Instagram. We have Twitter. And so any videos that I create, whether I send to them, they cut them up, make magic, make me look presentable, and like I can form a coherent sentence, and then they put it out for us, and they've been absolutely amazing for us, and one of the keys in how we've uh, been able to grow our business exponentially over the last 4 years.
So you don't have to be the marketing genius. And what you're saying is, even though it's an MSP or a dentist, it's still something people want to learn about on IG or on Facebook or whatever platform they might be on. Okay, interesting. So what you know, so I'm just going to say this, Dan. I feel like you're one of the more sales and marketing focused. So, besides the marketing company, how do you spend your time? Are you spending most of your time running around fixing technical things? What's your day week look like?
Yes, I'm not. I don't have my finger necessarily on our technicians or excuse me, our clients' computers as much anymore. I certainly keep up with it, but I am more focused on running the business and on the sales side and ensuring that our clients are able and are receiving the best possible service that we can. And I believe focusing on those areas, especially with your current clients, you're it shows that you're going to build business. You will have fruit that grows from that. And some of that is, again, from, I believe it was Floyd's question. We ask a lot more for reviews now, where we didn't before. We ask for uh, Google reviews. We ask for client testimonials. We ask for that stuff a lot more where we didn't used to in the past. And I think that has a direct impact in our ability to attract uh, more prospective partners as well.
Wow, guilty as charged. Not doing that regularly, especially being a technical person, right? So I can totally understand why You didn't do that. I know I'm not doing that like we should. So, um, you know, Pioneer on CRN top 250, top 501 MSP. You told me kind of backstage there was a point at which you feel like you went from a lifestyle business um, to what whatever you describe now. So tell me, why did you do that? Why did that matter? What's changed?
Yeah, so in the, I guess it was right around 2010 ish, I had some family challenges, and uh, my attention needed to be focused not physically in the area that my MSP was, not in Northern Virginia. I had some family challenges that brought me down to Jacksonville, Florida, just outside Jacksonville, Florida. And so I have, uh, ever since then, I've been splitting my time between the two, and for a number of years, in the beginning there, uh, probably between 2011 and 2016 or so. Uh, it was just a lifestyle business, dealing with, like I said, some family challenges, and then I had some health issues that I was out of work for a good bit. And if it weren't for my amazing team, uh, I wouldn't have been able to, still be in this position today. Uh, I can't say enough good things about our team, and how a close culture and really treating your team as a family to the best of your abilities, even when it sometimes hurts the bottom line. Uh, how important that is, because without that, and I really felt like we had an amazing team prior to, and that's the only reason why they afforded me this opportunity to be able to split my time and not be there on site. Thankfully we have all professionals that work with us, and so uh, physically not being there hasn't necessarily been a detriment to the team. And maybe some of my technicians would say it's good that Dan's not here all the time. Uh, but but, uh, um, but no, it's so going through that, and then kind of realizing at coming out of that having this lifestyle business isn't necessarily what I want to do for the next 15 years. And I want to be able to provide even more for our team and provide better services for our clients. And so at that point in time, it was really almost a renewed focus, because there hasn't been as much focus on it. And joining Realistic, and they have a high performance club, which is basically a sales and marketing focused group of all the MSPs that they work with, and joining them, and going to a couple of those meetings. And then we're also a part of the Dental Integrators Association, which is a group of about 30 MSPs across the country. And going to those meetings, it was almost like a rejuvenation of excitement and getting back in there, and really a renewed passion for going and building the business. So I don't know if those 5 years of just running it as a lifestyle were what I needed to get that boost to bring it to where I am today, and hopefully where we're going. But it was part of my journey in that, and I think it was a key portion of that journey. Without it, I don't know that I would be the same person today,
That's awesome.
and I don't know it would be the same company today either.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And by the way, the we have Hugh who also said thank you to this. I wanted to highlight that. Thank you for that, Hugh. A lot of folks have been joining us recently. If you would like your question answered or just comment on what's going on, drop those in the comments. Hit like or any other reaction if you'd love to tell Dan and support him in that way. And if any of you guys would like recording, just throw the comment in recording and we'll make sure to get that to you guys. Now, Dan, you've talked about that you had these family issues and health issues, and right? I just want to get this straight. Actually, before I jump in, I want to get one more comment from Gloria. Gloria, I think it was hard to make out, and we're not really familiar with the name of this marketing company. So, look, you're saying they're great. They're for MSPs. Don't keep it a secret. Tell us who this is.
Yes, yeah. The company's called Ulistic, Ulistic,
Okay.
and I'm still with them. Uh, Absolutely, I don't foresee me ever really leaving Ulistic as long as they continue as they have to produce. I even emailed them this morning with an absolute urgent need, and within 5 minutes, it was taken care of. They've just been fantastic.
Awesome.
So yes, Ulistic.
Realistic. Oh, on that note, guys, we are. If you want the recording, hit that at the end. We're going to drop in an email that you can send an email to, and we'll have all the notes and all the links and all the things that Dan mentioned. So if you're not catching it now, whether you want the recording or the show notes, just let us know, and we'll give you an opportunity to kind of engage there. Go ahead and drop in any other questions. We got several coming in. Before we get to any others, though, Dan, I got to ask this. So you had, if I understand, family. Family comes first. You had health issues. Those had to come first. So just to recap, you went from Virginia, but essentially near Washington, D.C. based, right? That's where your team is.
Mm-hmm.
I think I know as an MSP, I was an MSP. You're used to your team being out on site. That's what remote means, right? Especially pre-COVID. But then you move from the Washington D.C. area in Virginia to near Jacksonville, Florida. So that I can understand why you did that. Why do you still choose to do that? And how do you make that work? I think the concept of saying I'm not even in the same city, let alone state, as the whole team. And this was well before COVID. Now we're all navigating this. Why did you decide to stay, and has that been a challenge?
Well, yes, it is a bit of a challenge. We're going to stay here for the foreseeable future, I'm imagining. But I don't know that even if I were to move back to Northern Virginia, that I would move necessarily back to Northern Virginia. From that standpoint, I could see me being, let's say, closer, let's say 60 miles outside of DC, and maybe only going into the office, once a week or something like that, because we've kind of proven over the last 12 years that we've been able to not only maintain the business with me being remote, uh, but also grow the business. Now, I'll be honest, I work harder when I'm here than when I'm in Virginia. When I'm here in a way, I'm at my desk 5:30 in the morning, and the calls start, and I'm on the phone the vast majority of the time. One of the biggest, I guess, challenges is keeping that communication and the camaraderie with the team. So being in the military and being on a team in the military, you had a lot of camaraderie, and that's one thing I certainly lost and missed when I started out in your one man shop doing break fix, trying to build a business. You have no one to fall back on.
Yep.
And so as the business grew and we had technicians, it was great to go in. I loved going into the office and having the camaraderie with the team. And so moving away, I mourned that, I think, a lot in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but we've used Teams and Zoom for a while, even pre-COVID. So a lot of time, a lot of time is spent on Teams, just being face to face, whether we're a group, on our morning huddle in the morning, or individually with the technicians or dispatcher or whomever. I do a lot of face to face from that standpoint, to try and help keep the culture going and the relationships going, and to try and bridge me not physically being there
How
the
do you
best
do
the
that,
best way.
right? I just know, I feel like that's foreign to most MSPs, and I'll just speak firsthand. We were in office before COVID. Now, while we used Zoom and other tools like that, but and we were fortunate. We started hiring in different areas where people were remote, but we were largely in an office. And then what we learned, my personal story about our team was they did as nice as our office was, they didn't want to come back. Right? They loved working from home. They loved the flexibility, and we have amazing team. So we made that decision to become remote, and it's part of our culture and our DNA because we want to go where the best people are, no matter where you are. So, like in your case, you went from, you know, Washington D.C. area to Florida. So, just because you moved didn't mean we wouldn't want you on our team if you were a part of ours. So, but I will tell you, I've struggled. Right? How do you be intentional? How do you instill that camaraderie? We talk backstage. Like, I'm a tech guy. We're not known for being extroverts and coming on video.
Yeah. Yes. I hope. Unfortunately, I imagine this is true, but I hope some of the viewers out there don't have the same experience that I do. You jump on the teams in the morning, and you're looking at all the text faces, and they all look the same. They all look tired. And hey, how's your night? What'd you do? Anything exciting? And crickets. It's I think a part of that is maybe some of that is just personalities of technicians. Uh, but when we do, during COVID, it was much harder. But when I am in town, I'm in town for normally 3 or 4 days at a time, and we try and have certainly a team dinner. In our organization, there are only two of us that were born in the United States. We are a very, very diverse, ethnically diverse organization. From Central America to India, Pakistan, Ghana, Ethiopia, and so in that, we try and go out to dinner to an Ethiopian restaurant because not everybody's had Ethiopian, and so
Right.
trying to share that and build the relationships that way to having trivia night through Zoom. It's always a good time for if for some team building, doing trivia night, especially if there's some prize money at the end for whichever team wins. So those are some of the ways that we try and keep the culture. But we have morning huddles every single morning.
Right.
Uh, we're talking as a team every single morning and sharing. And through teams really has we have some good conversation because there's always somebody in there making a joke or sending a gif about something that just happened on a ticket, and it just we're able to kind of build relationships there as well through
Right.
those small increments, but a lot of them throughout the day, a lot of those touches.
Okay. That makes a lot of
And
sense.
the vast majority of our remote team works remotely. We only have our field technicians, our dispatcher can work remotely or work in the office. So we only have a handful of 5 or 6 folks that are the field techs that are really come into the office for projects and that kind of stuff anyway.
Okay. Interesting. Well, I want to switch gears for a moment and talk about. So, I'm not only host this show, I'm the founder, CEO of Serosity, and you are what we call a partner. Most people would call a client, but we call a partner. So, I just want to ask the question directly: why did you choose us? What made you switch?
Well, you know, uh, uh, I was referred to you from, again, back from the Dental Integrators Association. Had a member there that referred me to you because he was using it. And so I was talking with him and explaining all the challenges that we're having, the time that we're spending. I have a technician that is spending, almost 40 hours a week running all of our backups, installing it, managing it, doing restores, the whole 9 yards. And they said, "Oh no, you need to reach out to Damien over at Servosity. They take care of everything for you and manage it, and it's kind of a one-stop shop, and that's what they focus on." And I thought, well, shoot, I go to my dentist and say, "You want to use a dental specific technology provider because that's all we focus on." And I know that we're not, probably have our backups 100% every one. But if I can hire a company that can make sure that all my backups are 100%, that would make me sleep better at night. And maybe I can save a technician. And so, reaching out to Servosity and having those conversations with you and many conversations and going through a proof of life of how your system works. I felt comfortable, and then as you know, you manage every single one of our backups, and you have Savasti saved us. I think the time the exact it was like 37 and a half hours a week that we were spending. So I had a technician working focused on that. When we brought you on after we got on board and everything was up and running, that technician now focuses on client success and uh, reaching out to clients and doing reviews and just focusing on making sure that all of our clients have everything that they need and are satisfied with our services. I would have had to have brought another person on to do that and train them up.
Right.
Where just having an outside company that from the word go, hey, we've got a new server, we need the software, we need your software installed, just from having that word go and then being able to make sure and all the follow-up that your team does at the end, and then the restores and showing that everything that got done correctly. It's
Hmm.
been Serosity has been a game changer. Eulistic has been a game changer for us. We have another company that has really been a game changer for us, and has helped us with that expansion and with the ability to scale over the last 4 years.
Thank you for
I
that.
don't,
So,
you
so
know,
you're saying you were spending over 37 hours a week on average managing backups before.
and
Is
probably
that
not
right?
very good. Yeah,
Okay.
like I
Interesting.
said,
I
probably
appreciate
not
the
very
candor.
good.
Yeah. What do you mean by not very good? Right? I mean, you guys are technical, right? Can't anybody manage backups like it's
I'm sure they can, but they really have to be. At least we found you really have to be focused on it and managing it on a daily basis, and to be able to say, I want to be able to tell my customer and client partner confidently that yes, it's backed up, and I believe we could, but in the back of your mind, you wake up in the middle of the night. What are the few things that I think about? I think about my backups. I think about, or I used to think about, network security appliances. When is that breach going to happen?
yes.
Where where's the blind side?
Yeah.
Um, and so, not having being able to take that worry out off the shelf and put it over there. I don't have to worry about that worry anymore because Serosity is doing our backups, and not only doing our backups, but we've had the issues where we've had to do a restore and spin them up in the cloud, and it works. And so that's the thing that I don't worry about at night anymore. We've done enough of them now. With your new system of offering the spin ups once a quarter, I believe it's Servosity One. I
Yes.
hope I'm getting that right.
Yep.
That that has been fantastic for us because we directly translate that into value to our clients. We were doing one a year for you, but now, if you'd like, we'll do one a quarter. Proof of life every quarter. Up to you. But we are going to do one a year because you have to for HIPAA compliance. Uh, and so, since we've been um, letting them know of this update through, during their uplifts, uh, I would say the vast majority, 70 or 80%, I would say, of our clients, 7 or 8 out of 10, have selected that quarterly restore, and that's serves to bring more value to us, and in turn we can bring more value to our customer, which again is what we should be doing.
Yeah. Easier said than done, right? On the value part, I wanted to ask you a quick question, and then I've got some others for you that are coming in the comments. But we were talking backstage, and you mentioned the value, but you don't have to go into the numbers unless you'd like to. But correct me if I'm wrong. You're spending more than you've ever spent for backups.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yes, no question. That monthly number is higher than we've ever spent before, but that's I mean it's money well spent to me. Again, it's I don't wake up in the middle of the night and say, oh my gosh, what happens if,
Right.
from a backup standpoint.
Right.
It just doesn't happen. And sleep, especially when you're a business owner, and you have so many things to worry about, whether it's employee, HR, payroll. backups, you know, whatever it may be, one less thing. It's worth that is value to me. It's worth that value, and to be able to have you jump on the phone. Hey, Damon, what's going on here? Or I'm concerned about this, or we have an opportunity. How would you structure this type of a backup solution? The accessibility of you and your team is again, there's that value, that is what I'm paying for on a monthly basis.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for that, Dan. Real quickly, I do want to mention that Servosity is brought to you by, or this show is brought to you by Servosity. I've got my team doing this. They're going to pull together every note that Dan's mentioned for you. So if you want the recording or show notes, just drop that in the comments. We're going to give you a way to get that later as well if you stay to the end. And just real quickly, with Servosity Safe, we are going to give you the ability to cut your support tickets in half, reduce the labor like Dan talked about, and let us manage your backups. Servosity Safe includes daily testing of every single volume, every single day. Plus, we store your backups in tamper-proof, immutable storage. Most importantly, our fully managed backups mean you don't have to babysit backups anymore, leaving your techs the time you need to grow and scale your MSP. So if you're tired of dealing with failed backups and worry about the ability to restore, go to servosity.com, book a call, whatever you'd like to do just to learn more. So let's come back to digging deeper here with you, Dan. I wanted to highlight a few other comments. We've got a number coming in. One of the ones that I'm going to, so we were talking earlier, I think we highlighted Hugh was saying very true to what you were saying, some of the challenges. And then I wanted to highlight Roy. And so Roy is saying that you mentioned Eulistic and Servosity and a third company has been a game changer. So don't hold out on us. What's this other game changer?
No, you got to wait till the end to hear that one. You got to wait till the end. No, uh, we are a ConnectWise shop, and we use Sell, and we were really looking at assistance in the back end for our agreements, for our billing, our AP, our AR, everything, and doing some looking around. There are some companies out there that will come in and will do consulting on how to maximize or create efficiencies or optimize it. But there's a company out of Louisiana, excuse me, Alexandria, Louisiana, called VPA, Virtual Partner Advantage, and they specialize in the back end of NSPs. And so they handle all of our agreement billing, HR, AP, uh, invoicing, everything. All our techs need to do is do the work, put the time and entries into the ticket, ensure that the ticket's completed. Our dispatcher will go through, close the ticket out once it's done. Project work, quoting, you name it. VPA comes in and they learn your business and they take over a lot of that back end for you so that I can focus on sales and marketing and I can focus on whatever it may be. Uh, they've done a great job. We've been working with them since 2018, and we're slowly taking over more and more of our pieces of our puzzle. The last two being the quoting and the project management. But they have a team, and there's a team of billing folks and controllers, and so I don't have to necessarily scour ZipRecruiter or have our recruiting agency find folks that have ConnectWise experience and that understand what an MSP does and how they bill out or how they do X, Y, or Z or how the agreements work. They handle it all for us. If they have a team member that's out sick, they have a backup. And so it really took a lot of the headaches of that back office area. And they're on our teams. We have weekly L10 meetings. There's a tremendous amount of communication between our team, whether it's our technicians, if they have questions on billing, or if they had an additional issue and they had to contact, whether it's our payroll folks, our accounting folks, our billing folks, whatever it may be, we're all on the same team. Uh, and so that has also been a huge benefit to us because our office manager, she had been with me since 2004. She got remarried last year and moved away, and she was, a lot of the glue that took care of a lot of that back end. And so we saw that coming, and with her, we worked to transition over to this company, VPA, and they've just been fantastic for us. I can't hear you. Like,
Sorry about that. There we go. Thanks for letting me know. Guys, Dan's a very humble guy, so drop in the comments if you want to know more. But you've like tripled your MSP, right? You've grown dramatically. So your secrets were game changers were Eulistic in marketing, Servosity in managing your backups and testing, and VPA in terms of managing all of the other pieces that you didn't necessarily need to manage in part of your ConnectWise. Is that is that right?
yes, those three pieces alone allowed me to focus my focus and efforts towards ensuring that our tech team is there, and we've got a bench of techs to be able to manage the growth that we've had. It's allowed me to focus more on education and videos and marketing, and it's really, I would love for there to be, us do this in a year and say, oh my gosh, let me add, here's number four. It's this XYZ company and they're doing this for us, and it's made such a huge difference. In everything. And I'm going to go back to the lifestyle. In some ways, going through that and having that time to refocus on what I want to do and refocus on how I want to build the business and in the areas that I want to build the business. It was it was so helpful, and I wouldn't want to tell any business owner to kind of just go with 4 or 5% growth every year and do that for 5 years and then come at this really hard. But it just, again, it just worked for me because life gets in the way of all of this, and health as well. And so it's just had I have almost a renewed passion to go out there and to do this after seeing how things work and seeing how it doesn't have to be so hard.
Yeah,
You can bring people in that focus in those areas so that you don't have to try and give a, a reasonable amount of effort and get a lack of result in all of these areas. Now I can put good focus in making sure that our techs are trained and are continuing to get education, or focus on this area of sales or this area of marketing. And I could really focus it because those other areas are being taken care of.
that's awesome. So, guys, if you want to know more about how he's taking care of his team, his culture, his sales, drop those in the comments now. We're going to feature a few more. If you want the recording, drop that in as well. I wanted to bring up this comment from Zeke. How have you overcome the challenge of finding good people to support your growth? And I imagine being in a different state from where a lot of your team is doesn't make that easier.
It doesn't. It is an absolute challenge. I'll tell you a story. This just happened beginning on Tuesday. We've been working with a prospective team member for a number of weeks, going through the entire process, all the way down, the disc testing, the background check, the whole 9 yards. Had a conversation with them on Thursday of last week, talked about an offer. Everything was good to go. Like, as soon as I get it, I'll sign it. We sent the offer on Friday. He emailed on Friday and said, I need to talk it over with my family. On Tuesday, he backed out. He had been the
Oh,
technician, everything, Johnny on the spot, there for every interview, rock solid all the way down the line. And you think and then boom, it just evaporates into the ether.
that's
And so
devastating.
I don't. I wish I had a magic ball. I was talking with one of my dentists Tuesday morning as well. She had lost a front desk team member and an assistant the same day because they got different jobs, closer to home. She had two. She has one assistant and one hygienist and herself. And that's just got to be scary, and it's just a horrible environment out there for hiring right now.
Right.
Um,
Would you say your biggest challenge is growth, sales and marketing, landing new clients, or being able to keep up with staffing, or something else?
it's probably going to be the staffing and keeping a half a technician or so ahead.
Hmm.
Uh, so
Tell me more
so
about
from the
that.
standpoint,
About half a technician or so ahead. Why?
because anything can happen. I mentioned that one of we have technicians from all over. One of our technicians a handful of weeks ago, he was the eldest of his family. He's from Ghana, and his dad fell into ill health, and he's currently back home, and he's going to be home for a little while. And so we lost the technician for almost an indefinite period of time. And having at least a half a technician to be able to step in that role, uh, we've been hit with technicians have had COVID and have been out of the office for a significant amount of time. And so, at least having that half technician has been critical, and it's been very challenging to keep that half technician.
Yeah.
In the slower times, it's great. We can get caught up, and it's everything's good. But you have a technician that's on leave, and then somebody gets COVID, and then something else happens, and oh my gosh, and there's another area where being 700 miles away, where I would have jumped in the truck and gone out to a job, and even if I didn't get a result, but I was the person there in front of the client. That's also part of the difference that you have now as well.
I know it's not rocket science, but staying half a tech ahead, that seems like a really good tip by itself. Um, so, um, on the, I guess on the growth side, and I want to see other comments come through. If you guys want to drop in recording or any other comments, let us know. We'll get those to you. Um, but tell me about the niche, right? You picked this niche, and I think you're highly unusual to start with a niche. Some people develop a niche, but to start with a niche. So, how did you how did you know it was dentists and not attorneys or whatever? How did you have the confidence to start there?
Uh, because I did that market analysis when I was still in the Air Force, and the light was at the end of the tunnel that I was going to get out, and I wanted to know, how much competition. So I did a market analysis, and there were two or three dental specific technology companies. One is still around, and they do a little bit of dental. The other one fell to the wayside in the mid 2000s. And so I felt that if I can come in and I can speak your language, I can talk about on an intraoral camera. I went and I bought an intraoral camera, and I would go into offices and demo that intraoral camera, and the term, knuckle to the buckle, which is your knuckle at the buckle, and that's how you hold the camera. And I do intraoral camera trainings,
Yeah,
and
I
just
have no
try
idea
and absorb.
what that means. That kind of camera, by the way. That's
So go ahead. So an intraoral camera is when you go to the dentist and they want to show you that cracked molar in the back of your mouth. They stick that camera in there. It's like a pencil, and it gives you this amazing image. So I had a demo intraoral camera, and I would go to try and set up demos. Walking into offices. That's all I did in the beginning. Knocking on the doors. I'm Dan DeSteno, know the computers, IT. If you want a competitive estimate, please give us a call. Anything like that. And it was in the beginning just knocking on those doors. But once you can, whether you're an attorney or you're work for dental offices or you work for engineers, once you can start to talk the lingo, you really build a lot more credibility. And
I think Hugh's laughing at me. I had no idea what that was, but I'm going to ask the question, so feel free to jump in. But no, that, and I love the hustle, right? Knocking on the doors, and I think as a tech person, saying, I don't want, I wouldn't think to get into their world and figure out what that camera is. So showing up with a demo unit, I bet they already put you a step ahead of every other technical person in the early days.
Yeah, uh, we just were working with a new doctor that just signed on with us last week. He left a large IT organization that he'd been with for 15 years. And his biggest complaint was that every time he called and he would speak to a technician, he would have to explain what his practice management software was and what
Mm-hmm.
the digital x ray sensor was because he's having a problem with this. And so every time I call, I've got to explain to him, you know, he's going to call and he's going to say, I'm having a problem with PBS endo and this x ray sensor. And my tech's going to say, okay, what computer? And we're going to log right on and get it resolved because we have that specific expertise. Now, if he said, if an attorney called and said, our XYZ word formatting program is not working, we would ask those questions.
Sure.
We just don't know. And so,
It turns out I'm not alone. He was brave enough. He didn't know what that camera was either. So that's awesome. Thanks for participating. You, yeah, it's interesting. You've got this deep knowledge about the dental industry that your other MSPs are not going to have. Has that allowed you to charge more or differentiate in any way?
uh, I, I don't know if charging more. We're in the DC Metro, and I don't know how our fees are commensurate with the average MSP here in the area. Uh, it it may allow us. I can't say that it really allows us to charge more, but when we come in and we say you need this, we're I think we're met as the resident expert. I think if we come in, we could earn the business a lot quicker based on being the resident expert than someone else that's coming in that has the attorneys and the this and that and the flooring company and all that they're managing.
So they listen to you. That's, I mean, I know a lot of us struggle with that. To be seen as the expert, not the salesperson. Not the person trying to quote you a new, gadget or some fancier server or, some faster speeds and feeds.
That is very true. And if you are in a vertical, or if you can get into a vertical and then become a member of maybe an association, I mentioned earlier, I've had two DIAs in my life: the Defense Intelligence Agency and now the Dental Integrators Association. And
That's
uh,
hilarious.
that DIA, the Integrators Association, has been a huge value. And I think we're basically a large peer group. We get together a couple of times a year, share war stories, and really just talk about what's happening in technology in the oral healthcare vertical. What are you doing that we're not doing, and how is that working for you? And I've never been in a peer group that is so open. Competitors. We've got a great company just up in Baltimore, DTC, and I've known Steve for 20 years. But he and I could sit down and we can talk uh, and share, industry secrets, if you will. But I don't worry. We have a relationship. All the kind of the DIA. It's what we're trying to do for our dentists is just give them information. That's all we're doing with each other when we get together. We're just sharing information on what's working in sales, what's working in tech, what's working in this, or what's not working. And having an organization and being able to sit down with somebody that you respect and that knows what you're in, especially in that specific vertical, as to me, it's just worth its weight in gold because you can say I'm having this challenge, and they know exactly what you're talking about. Not that another MSP wouldn't, but they really we're having this challenge with an intraoral camera again. That's that camera you stick in your mouth. This is happening and that's happening, and
Right.
you know they probably have a point of reference or whatever it may be. And
So,
so
so another takeaway is get in the peer groups. Get in the right kind of peer group. The right one makes a difference.
Oh my gosh.
I know I want to be a good steward of your time, Dan. If anybody else that's watching the stream wants to drop in a last question or two, we'll be able to take maybe one or two. I wanted to ask you is real quickly is how has this affected your ability to scale, your ability to market, that sort of thing? Like, does this niche, this vertical, do you feel like it's limited you? Like, I can't go to every market. I can't just show up at the chamber because there's not enough, I don't know, dentists there, for example. Like, where's this? Is this a secret weapon? Has this improved it?
Oh, I'm going to swing back to the Dental Integrators Association. Uh, so, for example, this allows us to actually be larger than our geographical area. I mentioned that we have clients, from Maine to Jacksonville, here to Jacksonville, Florida, out in moving further west. So, for example, one of the other members of DIA is outside of Pittsburgh, and we manage some practices in Pittsburgh, and they do our boots on the ground work. And so, having the peer group that of like-minded folks that are focused in your vertical, we're able to actually expand larger uh, to service them. In DIA, there's a group out of Wisconsin that we do support for because they have some offices here in DC, and so we're the boots on the ground for them. Another member that's in Jacksonville does our boots on the ground for our Jacksonville clients when we need it, and so we've been able to build those relationships, and then now when we have an opportunity, ooh, yes, Dallas, Damon Stevens, he's over in Dallas. I'm going to call him, and he's going to be able to help us out with this project. And so it just that has really helped us grow
Right.
and expanded our footprint, and our marketing can be focused on that as well. So whether we do a client spotlight in Pittsburgh, and now AdWords for Pittsburgh and dental IT are going in, and that's what's focusing us. That we're focusing on, whatever the case may be. And a lot of dental offices now are being bought by DSOs, dental service organizations. And so a DSO can have offices all over the country, and they need support for those offices. So we work with DSOs as well for that. So it's really helped, and being a part of that peer group and that dental specific peer group has really helped, I think, expand our business in some ways. Where I wouldn't probably send a technician to Pittsburgh
Right.
or to Asheville, North Carolina, but
Right.
I can now.
Right. Well, this has been awesome, Dan. I want to be a good steward of your time. Thank you so much for willing to be a guest and share some of your tips and secrets here. Um, I want to give you the opportunity to share. How can people connect with you? How can they find you? Learn more about you.
Hey, I appreciate that. Yeah, you can certainly visit us at novacomputersolutions.com. I'm sure we'll have that out there at the end. Or reach out to me via LinkedIn, or I'm sure I'll have the email. I'd be happy to talk and share with any of my stories, or any more information about any of the amazing companies like Servosity that we talked about here today. Yeah, I'd be happy to. But yeah, novacomputersolutions.com.
That's awesome. Thank you, Dan. So I appreciate that. Guys, I want to transition and just say thank you guys for your time. We have all this recorded, and we're going to go through every nugget that Dan gave us and give you those resources. So if you liked anything, hit like. If you want to find out about new shows, some amazing MSPs we have coming up, hit follow. And then if you'd like to find out about every resource that Dan mentioned today, from peer groups to EOS to different forms of DIA, email show@damienstevens.live. So if you'd like to find out all the goodies from today, we're going to pull all those together and get those to you, and how to get connected to Dan to be able to connect with him either. So we appreciate you guys being able to do that. And we see the comments coming in. If you want to drop in recording, if you'd like the recording, we'll do that. Make sure to either follow or email show@damienstevens.live. We still have comments coming through, so I appreciate you guys saying this. I'm going to leave that for just a moment before we're done with the stream. And thank you guys so much.